Hello, Mr. Bhandari. I used to do in Bulgaria something that resembles what you do regarding India, criticize my fellow countrymen, the Bulgarians, trying to tell them that the problems of Bulgaria are self-inflicted, that it's the Bulgarians who cause the Bulgarian problems. It's not the politicians, it's not the foreign powers, it's not the mafia, it's the Bulgarians, the ordinary Bulgarians at that. And as you can imagine, they didn't like what they were hearing, because they don't want to own the problems, just like the Indians, I guess. Just like most people all over the world, but with some cultures apparently it's worse. Obviously, the Catholics are willing to accept the blame, that they're to blame, and most cultures are not. Anyway, so this is why when I encountered your videos, I was blown away, and for several days I was obsessed, and I was watching a video after video after video, because it's always better to listen to somebody who is an insider, and you're an insider. You haven't learned about India because of Indian studies in some Western university. You've been born there, you've worked there, you speak the language, etc., etc. And one of the things you said especially impressed me about the Indian plumber who would do a shoddy job even if it doesn't cost him more to do it correctly, to do it well. And I'm familiar with this attitude, which in Bulgaria didn't exist until 1945, when the Red Army took over the country and established socialism. Under socialism, people hated the government. The government was the only employer in the land. So all jobs were government jobs. And you could not protest, you could not quit. All you could do was to do a shoddy job. And people actually, the same people who were proud with doing things well before socialism, began to be proud with doing things shoddily. Actually, people bragged about it. It was not lack of morality, it was a flipped morality. It was the whole work ethics flipped. But here's my question to you. India didn't go through socialism. India was not occupied by the Red Army. So how the same attitude came about in India?
So, Mr. Bogorov, I think it is important to understand that India is an amoral society. Now, if I were forced to do something, I might have decided to do a shoddy job because I would have rebelled against the tyrannical power that wanted to use me as a slave. But with Indians, it's a matter of ego. It challenges their manliness to do a good job. If they do a good, clean job, that's supposed to be the job of someone else, because they are supposed to be such important people that it is not their job to do anything cleanly. So if I bring a plumber or an electrician to my place in India and get him to do some work, he thinks that there must be cleaners below him who will do the cleaning job. So he's not going to do the shoddy job because of the reason you faced in Bulgaria. The Indian will do a shoddy job because he thinks it's below him to do a good job, and it's too feminine for him to leave things sparkling clean, because it's a job of the maid to clean things up. So, and everyone thinks that way. Even the maid thinks that she does not have to do a clean job because someone else must do a cleaner job than she does if she thinks she is senior. So it's a different way, it's a different reason why Indians do a shoddy job.
So the higher you are in the social hierarchy, the more you expect that you are entitled to do a shoddy job. Am I understanding this correctly?
Well, yes and no. It does not matter which part of the hierarchy you are in. Everyone thinks the same way. So the lower person always thinks there must be someone below him who can work for him. So don't blame just the people who have the power, because it's the people at the bottom who are the same. And it's the same thing as you defined about Bulgaria. The reason why a corrupt system continues is because the common guy is so corrupt. And if you put the lower guy into a position of power, he will behave worse than those with power in their hands.
Okay, I'm still not clear. Apparently, it's not the same thing as in Bulgaria. I expected to hear something that could relate to. So, uh, the person who is at the bottom wants to associate himself with people with power, people who are influential, who are rich, and this is why he does a shoddy job, because this makes him think of himself as somebody who is higher up. Is this the
Pretty much, because might makes right is the organizing principle in that society. There's no moral code, there's no rationality. It is simply might makes right that runs the society. So if you have power, then you can get away with anything. So anyone who wants to feel that he is in control of his life has to control other people. That is the culture of the society. Now, remember, you used the word socialist referring to Bulgaria. Now, India is not a socialist country. That is also true. India is far worse than a socialist country. India does not have a calculation problem. It does not have a problem of state control. The real problem of India is chaos in the minds and in the public space of the country. And that is why I call India not a socialist country, but a country that follows chaosism, because that's all that India is. It's like one big bundle of chaos.
Well, I can relate to that because Bulgaria is a very chaotic place, and the more you live in Bulgaria, actually, the less you know what to expect. I mean, it should be the other way around. You would expect that the more you live in a given place, the more experience you gather, and the more you can predict. But actually, as I was working there as a lawyer, in time, I was less and less confident what will happen next, because even the
Right.
judiciary is highly unpredictable. And again, this brings me to India. I thought that the judiciary in Bulgaria is horrible because just simple civil cases could drag on for 10 years, which is the length of the Trojan War. And this was until I learned what goes on in India, that simple cases could drag on for 15 years or 20 years or forever, really, because I read somewhere that the Supreme Court of India will has so many, is so clogged and has so many pending cases that it will take several hundred years to finish them all. And several hundred years, that's practically forever, because obviously the claimants will not be alive, or their children will not be alive for that matter, even if someday all these cases and as for the other thing you said, Might is right. This is very much how things are in Bulgaria. Only Bulgaria is not, again, it's not as bad as India, because Bulgaria has experienced influences of Western Europe. It's in a different geographical position. But people like the strong, and people blame the weak, and they would rather attack somebody who has the moral ground but who is weak, than somebody who is immoral but is strong. This is the logic, obviously. Um, and as I said previously, Bulgaria is also a place where the Bulgarians don't own the problems. And this again relates to what you say about India. Am I correct to assume you're writing, by the way, a book on the third world right now? Am I correct to assume that owing the problems very much can explain where a country gets in terms of affluence and law and order and everything? Because cultures like the Catholic culture, where people blame themselves if something is wrong, or the Japanese culture, where they always apologize and always blame themselves. These cultures seem to create countries that are affluent, that are well ordered, and countries where people don't own the problems, where they blame somebody else, like the colonizers, the politicians. I noticed that the Indians usually blame the colonizers for whatever is wrong with India. So, am I correct to imagine that to imagine that India is such a place because the Indians don't own the problems of their own country?
Absolutely. And that is why I blame everything on the culture. I blame everything on the people. Politicians are extraordinarily corrupt. The police is extraordinarily corrupt. The justice system is extremely corrupt. But they are just a reflection of the underlying people. And the people have an extremely corrupt mentality in that country. Now, I have written about this in some of my articles, and I'll repeat it here. When I arrived in the United Kingdom, when I was in my mid 20s, that's when I first started to realize that the meaning of of truth was to speak what is truth rather than what sounds good. So that's how convoluted the concept of truth is in India. People say what is convenient and what gets them the most resources rather than what the truth is. And I came to a conclusion at one point of time that to have the right compass in life, to become a person or a society that improves, you have to accept self responsibility. You have to start accepting truth and start pointing fingers at yourself rather than other people. And I tell Indians all the time that Japan was flattened in the Second World War by Americans, and Germany was flattened by the Allied forces. But I have yet to meet a German or a Japanese who blames anything to do with their lives on Americans. So I advise people to move on and mostly look for blame in themselves, so that and blame in their own societies. But it is such a lazy thing, an easy thing to blame other people and not do anything. And these are people who are defeated inside. Their souls are defeated. They are lazy. They don't want to do anything, and they look for excuses as a result. Uh, the problem is that if you don't have truth seeking as your moral compass, you don't have most of any of the values that Europe historically developed: the concept of honor, the concept of integrity, the concept of loyalty. These concepts don't exist in India. My best friend is more likely to backstab me than someone very far away. Your neighbors are your biggest enemy. Your friends and family are your biggest enemy. And there's no integrity. I cannot trust a single person. Now, I have been living in the West for the last 35 years now. I lived for a couple of years in the UK. I spent a long time in Germany and Switzerland. I worked for German Swiss companies. And I now live in North America, and I work a lot with North American companies. And most of my contracts with people are verbal contracts. We agree on fees, we agree on a way to do things, and pretty much we both sides honor what we promise to do. In fact, the provider, and I'm not just talking about myself, but I'm talking about other Europeans and Americans as well. If I pay them something, they want to give me back 5 or 10% more than what was agreed upon. They want to make sure I'm extra happy with their work. Whereas in India, you can be absolutely sure that you can get into a contract with a major company, and when the time comes, they will renege on the contract. They will decline to accept the contract. And if you have people working for you, or if you delegate some work to other people, they are going to do the minimum possible work to make it acceptable to you. So they will do a shoddy work because they just don't. They don't think that what they are doing is God's work. They don't think that their hands are operating on behalf of God. Now, I'm not using God here for religious purposes. I'm saying it from a figurative purposes, because a Japanese or a German person wants to do a good job, irrespective of whether the superior is watching him or not. He thinks that it is his God-given responsibility to do a good job, irrespective of whether he will be held accountable or not. And that is why those societies work. You can't really have big organizations or even a coffee shop work when people are trying to avoid doing the right thing, because then fecal matter goes into your coffee. Things start going wrong all the time, and nothing ever works in India. I've been discussing with a lady for a while to do an interview with her in New Delhi, and either her connection is wrong or electricity is down, so nothing works in that country. And it is unbelievable that so many times words don't convey anything to you, because what I say, you think that applies to Bulgaria. Now, I have been to Bulgaria multiple times. I have traveled in Bulgaria, and I tell you, Bulgaria is an absolute heaven compared to India. I have traveled by myself in Bulgaria. People are respectful. I get decent product for what I offer them. I can't imagine when I was cheated in Bulgaria. In India, you will be cheated every single time. Absolutely every single time. Let me tell you a saying in the country. When I was a kid, when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, my grandparents would wake me up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the dairy to get milk extracted from the buffalo right in front of me. Because if we did not do that, they would always add water to milk. And, I went there, and one day I asked him that after he milked the buffalo, although he did not adulterate milk necessarily with water, he would still sprinkle a few drops of water on milk. And now you can imagine what the thinking is, which basically says that unless I make money the crooked way, even if it's a fraction of a penny, I'm not getting worth of what I'm providing to you. So crookedness is a part of the thinking. It's a part of the system. And of course, the government and justice system is extraordinarily corrupt. You walk into a court, you bribe the policeman who guards the courtroom. Then you bribe the guy who puts you in front of the judge, and you bribe him right in front of the judge. So now imagine what should happen in your mind. Are you even going to get justice in that court? And you will spend maybe a full morning waiting for the judge to invite you in. And you go in, and what does the judge say? We will fix a new date for your case 6 months from now. So now, after 20 years of fighting a case, what do? You settle outside the case outside the court. So you have bribed the police, you have bribed the court officials, you have bribed the judges, and still nothing happens, because the other party is doing exactly the same thing. He's bribing the court judge, he's bribing the police. So you are basically going into an auction system. He bribes, you bribe. He bribes more, you bribe more. And at the end of the day, both of you decide that both of you have been lambs and these were foxes, the court system, and you settle something outside. Invariably, an Indian will tell you, even if you are on the wrong, even if you were the right, you did not do anything wrong, accept it and move on, because Indian system will destroy you, and it does.
Okay, let me comment on some of the amazing things you said. Now, regarding the bribing of judges in Bulgaria, I've been a lawyer for 17 years. I haven't witnessed a judge being bribed. Maybe it happens in some cases, but it must be very rare, considering that for 17 years I never participated or heard of a colleague who has done it or anything along those lines. So Bulgaria is a corrupt country, but weirdly, when it comes to judges, it's not corrupt. Maybe that's because judges don't matter so much. Usually you bribe policemen in Bulgaria because a policeman could solve your problem immediately, while a judge, even if he wants to be on your side, cannot do much because there is some transparency in the system, there are some formal rules. Weirdly, I found out that in many respects in the United Kingdom, the rules are not that formal. But that's another conversation. Yet,
so let me comment on that. You said you have never
Mr. Bhandari,
met, I have never met a judge.
you
I
froze
have yeah,
for
I think
several
your
seconds.
connection is weak. I think your connection is weak. I can see it here. So
Yes. Well, it's
yeah, let
United
me
Kingdom.
continue.
It's not India.
Right. Because I have a very good connection here, but I have never met a judge who does not ask for a bribe in India. Never once. In fact, I know no Indian public servant, politician, or bureaucrat who does not ask for a bribe. You can go to any office in India. The first question is about bribes. It does not matter who you're talking with. You could be talking with the chief minister, you could be talking with the chief justice. There is never an occasion when the bribe is not a part of the transaction. So that is how corrupt the society is. And eventually, nothing else works because your evidence, the laws don't, nothing matters. At the end of the day, the only thing that makes a difference is bribes. And then the problem is that the other side starts paying bribe as well. So the code, everything will go on forever. Now, here is another problem. I don't even know how to find a good lawyer in India, because absolutely every lawyer you find will collude with the opposing party and take bribes from the opposing party. The lawyer, wants the case to go on forever. He will always ask you for bribes to be passed on to the judge, and you have no way to do anything about it because the judge does only one thing, which is to move the date forward. And why does judge always move the date forward? Because not only he's corrupt, he's also brain dead. He cannot take any decision. So it's best that he moves the case to 6 months later, when someone else will have to restart the hearing. So that is where the difference is, which is why I say that the West is capitalistic. East Europe is socialistic. Maybe parts of Far East Asia are socialistic. India is a chaotic place. There's no ideology behind it, not even a bad ideology. They just don't have an ideology. It is the kingdom of the jungle. It is the kingdom of might makes right. And that is why everyone is atomized. Nothing works. And it's a fragmented society as a result of that.
Okay, back to the 6 months. So in the Sofia District Court, typically a judge will move the date of the next court session 6 months away. Again, this magic number, 6 months. But that's not because the Bulgarian judge is brain dead or corrupt. It's simply that the system is clogged with cases, and his nearest window of opportunity is 6 months away. So it's not corruption or stupidity or anything along those lines. But still, it's 6 months. So even although you don't pay bribes and the other side doesn't pay any bribes, the case still drags on and on and on forever.
So, Mr. Bogorov, I have never heard of a case ever getting solved in India. I have never seen, I have friends and relatives who went to court for something. No matter ever gets sorted out in the court. All of them had to eventually sort it outside the court, and then they went into the court and said, okay, we have agreed to end this case, and that is what is considered a closed case in India. But court, I have never seen deciding on anything. They are so indecisive, apart from being corrupt.
Well, here an American lawyer will object, and he will say, well, it's the same in the United States because most cases get settled. Most cases don't end with a decision of the court. That's just statistically like this. But of course, the logic in the United States is very different from the logic in India. This is what the American lawyer will miss.
And that is why people matter. The culture matters rather than the law and the structure of the organization. If people are crooked and have no moral values, then it does not matter what kind of constitution and laws do you have. Nothing will work. I mean, I have lived in North America for a couple of decades now. I have never paid a bribe. The government officials are very respectful, usually not very smart, but very respectful. And they try to do the job the best that their smartness allows them. They are not the smartest people, of course, because the smartest people usually don't go to work for the government. But I have never paid a bribe in North America or in the UK or in Germany and Switzerland. I have never not paid a bribe in India. Every time you must pay a bribe in that country. That's the difference.
Well, I've never paid a bribe in the United Kingdom, but I cannot say that I've never paid a bribe in my life. Unfortunately, because I don't like paying bribes. And I don't like paying bribes not because I'm so honest. I don't like paying bribes because bribes are this gray area where the rules of the game are not clear. It's not clear why you have to pay a bribe if they're legal rules, written rules. It's not clear how much to pay. It's not clear for what you are paying. It's not clear to whom you pay. It's not clear how to pay, what words to use. I don't like this game. I like formalities. I like clear rules. And this was one of the reasons I immigrated to United Kingdom. By the way, people assume when they hear that I've immigrated that I must have been poor in Bulgaria. No, actually, I was earning more in Bulgaria than I'm earning here. But I prefer to live here in United Kingdom. It doesn't matter how much I'm earning. I don't want to live among Bulgarians. That's the reason I immigrated to Bulgaria. And when somebody asks me over here something about whether I meet Bulgarians over here, I'm puzzled. Because why would I immigrate to United Kingdom in order to meet Bulgarians? If I wanted to meet Bulgarians, I would have stayed in Sofia. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, back to what you said about Bulgaria, that Bulgaria is a heaven. Well, Bulgaria is a heaven in terms of standard of living compared to India, because in Bulgaria there is electricity, there is sewage, it doesn't smell of shit usually, no more than, say, in the United States, because now large areas of LA, I'm told, smell of shit and resemble a third world country. In Bulgaria, the internet works very well. Interestingly, the internet actually is faster in Bulgaria than in United Kingdom. That's a weird fact. Uh, but please remember, you visited Bulgaria as a tourist or as a visitor. You didn't earn you were not born there. You didn't use the local hospitals. You didn't speak Bulgarian. So your ideas about Bulgaria is my ideas about India. I haven't been to India. I don't speak a word of Hindi. Actually, I'm not even sure what the language over there is. I'm told that it's not one language, and the list goes on and on. Uh, Also, something else you said that the Indians don't follow contracts. No, that is true of the Bulgarians, definitely. The Bulgarians are extraordinarily flexible mentally when it comes to following the letter of a contract. They will always find an excuse why they can default on a contract. For example, it could be some justification like the other person is not a good person, as though this matters. I mean, when they concluded the contract, they didn't promise I will pay you if you're a good person. They just promise I will pay you. But when the date comes, they don't pay because all of a sudden there are other conditions that are not in the text of the contract. And this has been noticed by Westerners. Famously, the American ambassador to Bulgaria said something. I wonder whether he came with this or some Bulgarian told him. But anyway, he is the one to whom this is attributed. That concluding a contract in Bulgaria is not the end of the negotiations; is the beginning of the negotiations. Oh, sorry. So again, although the standard of living in Bulgaria is much higher than in India, and nobody is starving, and there is no squalor, and the sewage works and all that, still, I keep seeing, while listening to you, I keep thinking that
Yeah.
the two societies are similar somewhat.
No, and this is where you miss out. You're missing out on the degree of depravity and degradation in India. The reason electricity and internet and other things work in that country is because at the end of the day, there are people who are doing their job. They are they are following up on what they're supposed to do, and they make sure that electricity is there, internet is there, the traffic rule is followed, the society basically works. In India, no one is going to do his job properly. In fact, no one is going to do his job. If I want water connection in the country, I have to pay a bribe to people. And then the problem is, as you said, with bribe, there's this confusion about how to pay, who to pay, because then you have to keep chasing many people and pay bribes to a lot of people. But the problem with India is that nothing works. Internet doesn't work, electricity doesn't work. In most people will tell you that they don't have electricity for 4 or 12 hours a day, and electricity goes away without being announced. So it might go, you might get blackout for 4 hours on a certain day. So you can plan nothing because nothing ever works. That is how bad the situation is in that country. So the only reason the quality of life in Bulgaria is better is because people are still doing something rather than nothing. Whereas in India, the culture is not only doing nothing, but they sometimes, and I would say often, enjoy creating troubles for you.
Well, things began to get better in Bulgaria when socialism ended in 1989, and eventually private companies began to compete. So, for example, the internet connection is not established by the government. If you wait for the government, for the Bulgarian government to establish internet connection, you will wait forever. But fortunately, there are private companies that do that, and apparently they're doing a good job. As for paying bribes for certain services, like, say, electricity, yes, this exists in Bulgaria. but it exists in special cases. It's not widespread. It exists when, for example, you are building a new, you want to erect a new building in an area that hasn't been in regulation before that now is included in the city lines. So then the electricity company, which is supposedly private, but is regulated by the government so much that in practice it is a public company, almost. And the electricity company will say, well, we cannot agree to this because we don't have spare capacity. And then occasionally bribes are paid. Now, the electricity doesn't go off for 12 hours. This is rare. But electricity occasionally does go off. It does happen. It happens in certain places, for example, where I lived, because I lived in the mountain, and when there is a thunderstorm, branches will hit the cables, something along those lines. But it still did happen quite often. It didn't happen in the center of the city, for example. So Bulgaria is neither Indian nor Western country. Bulgaria is somewhere in between. But I keep noticing when I listen to your lectures about India, so many similarities.
Yeah, in terms of words, there certainly are similarities. But let's talk about, you said that workings of organizations improved once private companies took over some of the work. Now, in India, that was certainly the case. Still, your connection is horrible. Your bank services are horrible. Your private banks will charge you some money every month without taking your approval. And this is extremely common. Everyone suffers from it. And there's no way you can stop that. So, although privatization and removal of government from operations of many companies was a huge improvement on everything, because when I was younger, it would take you about 30 years to get a telephone connection, for example.
By the way, this is how it was under socialism.
And it would. You probably needed a politician as a contact to get a ticket on a train. So things were almost impossible those days. So passing those on to the private sector was a huge improvement. But that does not mean that those companies have any chance of standing up to international competition. Because unfortunately, people still want to be sloppy with their work to the extent they can get away with it. They will steal from the company to the extent they can. And just to give you an example, I had a guy working for me in Delhi, and he used to not come to the office maybe 5 times a month, which means he was skipping work a week every month. And I, over a period of 2 years, because I knew that if I hired someone else, it would be exactly the same thing. So I incentivized him. I said that I would double and then tripled his salary. So I started paying him 3 times the money than what I started with to encourage him. I was an MBA graduate. I thought providing incentives would improve him. Now he was skipping 3 weeks in a month because he was getting what he wanted and he did not want to work more. There's nothing you can do about it. So unfortunately, people really don't have, people are apathetic. Even if you pay them well, they will not do the job because the sign of their power is in showing off that the other person can be hassled by them. So they enjoy that negative power. So unfortunately, even under the private sector, a lot of things are completely dysfunctional. As I said, internet across the country is weak, it falls. that the cellular phone has problems. If you call up an Indian guy on his mobile phone, I guarantee you will have problems talking with him because the connection will not be good, even if that person is in New Delhi or Mumbai.
I laughed partly because what you said about this person coming to work even less reminded me of a joke that circulated under socialism in Bulgaria about a digger. So he was asked, "What can you do?" Meaning, what are your professional skills? And he said, "I can dig." And they asked him, "Can you do anything else?" And he said, "Well, I can also not dig. So I can also not dig." So this is his second skill. He has two skills to dig and not to dig. I don't know how these jokes translate for other cultures, but this made sense under socialism. Again, the Bulgarian, the psyche of a modern Bulgarian is formed under socialism. Never mind all these hundreds of years of history; they're gone. It's socialism, and now the socialist mentality is gradually being overcome, but it takes generations. Anyway,
so just to put this into perspective, the situation in India is getting worse, not better. And the reason it's getting worse is because at least until the British rules that country, and until the time British selected who ran the country, things were better than they were. As the distance from British rule has increased with time, everything is becoming worse with time. Everything has been hollowed out, and that is true even in private companies. So unfortunately, while many of as you mentioned about Bulgaria, things have improved a lot. I have seen a lot of things improving in Serbia as well, but in India, everything is getting worse with time.
Well, Eastern Europe, fortunately, is moving in the opposite direction because being colonized by the Soviet Union, being forced into the Soviet Empire, was not a step forward like with India and the British Empire. It was a step backward. So now, gradually, Eastern Europe is moving forward, especially countries like Poland. They're almost Western at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, they're on course to become even more Western than some Western European countries because of migration and other factors. One of the things I like in your narrative is that you always blame the ordinary people. And I like it because I used to do this about Bulgaria. And now I'm trying to do this when it comes to my new compatriots, the Brits. They may not take me as a compatriot, given that I've been born in another country, but I consider them compatriots. And I'm trying to tell them things like, you are to blame for the political correctness. Because if we are all politically incorrect, there is nothing the politically correct can do about it. The whole political correctness will be over overnight. So we are to blame. We are causing this because we are taking it sheepishly. And ordinary people, to my surprise, ordinary people in Britain don't like to hear this. They don't like to be blamed. They want to blame the politicians. They want to blame the universities, the academia that started it all, and so on and so forth. But you clearly see through all this BS, and you know very well, and you can make the case, and this is what I like about your message, that it's the people, the majority in a country that actually determines the course this country takes. Have I understood you correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there is not even that is very small natural elite coming out of India. There's no leadership in that country. There's no one who will stand up for what is right. and as a result, there is no pressure from the citizenry to improve anything in that country. You will never hear about Indians coming out on the street to fight for something. Now, when you start doing something, you are ideologically confused. So maybe you can say that Iranians are ideologically confused. That's why they are on the street. But at least they come out on the street to fight for what is right. Indians never ever come out for what is right. They will only come out when there's a religious thing, when there's a Hindu Muslim argument or something. But otherwise, no one will stand up for what is right.
Listening to you, I suspect that the book you're writing about the third world will be along those lines. Is this true?
It is true. Yeah, it will be basically a compilation of my articles, and it will be mostly focused on India. But I have been to 100 countries, and I have lived in many countries as well. And I came to recognize that the difference between societies is not a difference in ideology. It is the difference in the people. It is the difference in the ordinary people that makes everything in those societies. And as a result, you can impose socialism on let's say sub-Saharan African countries, or on India, or capitalism, or nothing. And nothing much will change in those countries, because at the end of the day, irrespective of the structure of the rules, they will simply not do what is right. This is something I struggle with all the time. When I tell people that, hey, this is the situation in India, Americans or Canadians will come out and say, hey, Canada and America are no different. They're exactly the same. And I have to keep telling them that there is a difference of degree I'm talking about. There's a difference between a shithole and a complete shithole and something which might have a peck of dust in it. So you have to understand the difference in degree. And that is why what people say will not make a difference to your understanding of India. You have to actually go and visit the country for a few days and walk the street. A lot of people fly business class, travel in air-conditioned cars, and stay in five-star hotels. They will never see the real India. What you have to do is to go to a three-star place and walk out of the hotel. Walk 3 or 4 blocks away from your hotel and experience the life. So, and that will help you connect what I'm saying about India with the reality of India, where you can trust no one, where nothing works, people are apathetic, and the organizations are predatory. Not only they do nothing, they are predatory because this is their sadism kicks in. If you I remember a case where a boy was sodomized, raped in my hall of residence at the university. The police could easily book the case against the culprits because no one was going to pay bribes. They were all poor people, but they still didn't want to do anything because they are so apathetic. They want the show of power that they have is in telling you that they can harm you rather than not help you. So that's how predatory things can become. So remember, there's a difference of degree, and the difference of degree pretty much is in the GDP per capita. GDP per capita of Bulgaria is close to $21,000. Indian GDP per capita is about $3,000 per capita, which means that most Indians live in slum areas, virtually all of them actually, and they can eat nothing but carbohydrates and sugar. So that's how the difference in degree is between the two people.
Well, I go even further. I say similar things about Bulgaria because when they ask me, where do you come from? By the way, the answer is Britain because I'm British and I come from Britain. but they want to hear the country that would explain my accent. And when I say Bulgaria, they inevitably would say, my new British compatriots, oh, what a wonderful place. We've been there. And I ask them, what, Sunny Beach? Yes, Sunny Beach. Sunny Beach. Sunny Beach is not Bulgaria. It's a resort for British tourists in Bulgaria. And I also tell them that they know nothing about Bulgaria, as though they care to know anything about Bulgaria, because they have been obviously to Bulgaria in order to get drunk for cheap, not to learn something about the country. But my point is, even going a few blocks away is not enough. As long as you don't work in this country, I began to understand United Kingdom when I began to work here. And to work with the locals, not to work with your compatriots who have come to this country. There is a difference. For example, there is a difference between somebody, I guess, who goes to India, but works in some Westerner who goes to India and works in a multinational company, where his boss is another Westerner, and his subordinates are also Westerners, and his colleagues are Westerners, and the whole company is based somewhere else, say in United Kingdom or in United States. Work with the locals, use their language, speak their language, have their skills, and then you will learn, after a while, you will learn the logic. And I also try to explain this to people who theorize about socialism. Because for them, socialism is this idea that socialism, that's equality, that's government ownership of means of production. They haven't lived under socialism. That's like theorizing that rape could be romantic. I mean, of course, you could theorize when you haven't experienced rape. You could theorize whatever you like about rape. But the victims of rape know better. So I understand you very well, and I hope that more people will appreciate what you're saying, because you are an insider. You don't give the glossy knowledge about India, which is book knowledgeable, which is given by people who have read other people like them, who quote each other. You actually, you have been there. You have been born there. You have lived there. So I would always trust somebody like you rather than some Western professor who lectures on Indian studies. He will tell me maybe about Buddhism and Mahabharata and the horrors of the British colonialism, but he is not an Indian. He doesn't know the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's important to understand a country by walking the street and working with people, with the local people, and eating out at local places. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Your approach to looking at Bulgaria is exactly my approach to looking at India, which is
this is why for several days I was watching your videos. I wanted to see more.
No, because it is the only difference is that I come from a bigger shithole than you came from, but we at least have foundationally a similar approach to understanding the world. And Western people are very politically correct, so they fail to understand the world. They only look for nice things. They don't want to say bad things about other people. So interesting case. I invited at different times 5 or 6 different girls to come to India from Europe, my European female friends. And every single of that girl was sexually molested or even raped in that country. Okay? Now, and I have walked the street in Bulgaria, and again, I have not worked in Bulgaria, but women can be very free. They walk
Well,
around.
most Bulgarian women are not raped, but most have experienced some form of what's the phrase used? Sexual harassment, like being
Right. Yeah.
groped. That's
Right. Right.
considered okay in Bulgaria. Rape is not considered
Well,
okay,
yeah.
but groping is.
Right. So, it is a country where nothing works, and that is the difference between people I have
But
seen.
excuse me for interrupting. Even in Britain, actually, many women, maybe most women, have been groped, and there is
Sure,
even a term for it, inappropriate touching. Even it exists even at schools. So it's,
sure,
but not rape. Rape is rare. Yes,
yeah.
please go on.
Yeah. That's when I decided that I had to start speaking the truth about the country. I did not want more people to come there and get into trouble, and I did not want people to invest in that country and lose their money. Virtually everyone who invests in that country loses his money.
Well, this is what happens to many countries, like Russia, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. I
In
agree.
Bulgaria,
I,
it's a mixed thing. Some lose their money, some actually make money. So it's not that. Bulgaria is in between.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad I was not born in India, but you know what? If I can
I,
think,
I'm I'm glad I got away from it.
I would have been even happier if I was born over here, not in Bulgaria. But I was about to say that the worst country one can be born in is probably not India. The worst country one can be born in is North Korea.
I actually is yeah. So I spent a week in North Korea once about
Yeah,
15
but
years.
again, pardon me, as a
I
tourist.
put I yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that. Uh, the but only one country out of 100 countries that I have been to, which I thought was worse than India, was Democratic Republic of Congo.
Congo. Yeah, but
Congo. Just
you had access to see what's going on in Congo. You never had access to see what's going on in North
it's
Korea.
absolutely, yeah. North Korea is a horrible place. Um, uh, but those are the two countries I think I would consider to be worse than India, Congo and North Korea.
In North Korea, as you know, people are born in slavery. Well, there are slaves in many countries, India included. But in North Korea, there are people who are born slaves in the
Yeah,
concentration camps.
yeah.
They still,
Well, everyone is a slave. Everyone is a slave. You can't even
yes,
leave your part of the city to go to another part of the city without police approval. So you are a prisoner in that country. Uh, I it is yeah. It's a strange. It's a true dystopia. It reminds me of 1984 book 1984 or Animal Farm, because that's
well, it
what
is.
North Korean visit. Yeah.
It is because George Orwell was inspired by the Stalinist Soviet Union, and North Korea they still have
and
Stalinism.
and and George Orwell was born in India. In a way, he understood a lot. He connected a lot of what his experiences of India.
Oh, sorry, I will disagree here with you because remember George Orwell used to be a socialist, and he was a
He
socialist
was
when he went as a volunteer to Spain, and that was after he was born in India and all that. So he was still a socialist. He still had these illusions, but once he went to Spain and spent some time under the thumb of the Stalin's secret police,
yeah,
he began to understand how socialism actually works and what socialism is
right.
about. That it's not about equality; it's about secret police and all that. And this is when he flipped. This was the moment. If you read his works before Spain, he is still a socialist. If you read his works
Yeah,
after Spain, his message is different. Both works are worth reading, but still, The George Orwell we think of today, the author of The Animal Farm in 1984, this happened after he lived under socialism in Spain.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. All I wanted to say was all the things that I hear about happened in Russia happen in India today, and they do it. The police in India will never bring a warrant to you. They will just come to your home, take you away. A friend of mine was woken up by a police from another city at 2 o'clock in the night, packed into a truck and taken to another city 500 kilometers away. So uh, there is no the people in authority get away with absolutely anything that you can think of in that country.
Well, again, I don't want to compare AIDS to, say, common flu. Both are infectious diseases, but there is a difference. Still, after watching a lot of these First Amendment videos on YouTube with police misconduct in United States of all places, I see that although this may not be common in the West, it happens in the West. The difference, of course, is that it occasionally happens in the West. In India, apparently, it's the rule.
It's the rule, yeah. That's the only thing that happens.
That's the only thing that happens. Thank you very much for being a guest, Mr. Bhandari.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
It was a pleasure. I'm not saying this out of courtesy. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that many other people will.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.